3 to 1. I'm like, come on, work. Okay.
There we are.
And here we are indeed. So it's time for ICEF Digital updates. And obviously, if we are talking about ICEF Digital updates, I'm here with the ICEF Digital man, Martijn. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. ICEF Digital, man. That's an interesting
ICEF
one.
Digital
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Well,
No,
it is your baby. ICEF Digital is your baby.
the baby's growing up. The baby's getting bigger. Baby's getting more independent and more interesting. So yeah, no, it's definitely going in the direction that we were hoping it would. And of course, we continue to respond to all the latest innovations and insights in AI and digital tools that are relevant for our industry. So it's these are the fun months where we're concluding speakers and sessions and titles and topics, and it's a luxury problem because there's just so much to choose from. But yeah, work in progress, and it's starting to look really, really good.
That's nice. I mean, I remember when we started these live sessions, it was the end of last year, I remember, and we said, we'll start preparing people for what's coming. And right before we went online, we were talking that, now it's time to take a bit of a breather. Well, I will, you won't, because we have a lot of ICEF digital work to do.
Yeah.
And then we'll start preparing for the actual thing. So tell me a little bit about perhaps some latest developments, maybe some new names that you can share with us. Who's going to be ICEF Digital 2024?
Yeah, so well, a bit of a breather. I wish. It's these are the busy months. Although you can tell that people are taking a bit of a break. But yeah, we've just been securing some more speakers. So we're kicking off the day with a conversation or a keynote about technology as your co-pilot. You'll remember the very famous phrase that AI won't replace you, but someone using AI will,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And that it's always important that you are that person using AI, right? So that you just evolve and become more successful in what you do thanks to these digital AI innovations. And that is also the relationship that we have with the so-called co-pilot. It's kind of a way for everyone to have your own personal assistant, and that personal assistant is digital and AI powered, and that's something that they are very advanced in with at Microsoft.
I was
So,
going to ask you that. In fact, I was going to say, is this the Microsoft product? Because I've heard a
yeah,
lot about Copilot, and a lot of people have so many good things to say about it.
yes, we have Florian Trautwein. He's the commercial director, strategic sales at Microsoft, and he's going to, well, of course, talk about Copilot, but very much the technologies behind it. What are they trying to achieve? In what way can it help us? In what way will it support us? In what way will it take away tasks from us? And how does that allow us to be more successful at the, let's say, human tasks that are so important in our industry? And as always, and what you'll see throughout the day, what we're trying to do is first we identify the latest digital innovations and AI innovations, just to highlight what's out there. In the second step, we then identify how does that relate to our industry, to our companies, to our jobs, to our students. And then when we understand what it does, we explain the technology, but we stick to our mantra of you don't need to understand how the technology works. You need to understand how the technology can work for you. So we have a little translation to that technology used in our industry. And then we'll also highlight, so where can you find this technology innovations? Who are the providers of the solutions for these innovations? And we're also introducing a series of case studies. So making sure there's a healthy balance of that, let's say, visionary, theoretic, maybe sometimes philosophical conversation on these innovations and how it impacts us. But then just, down to earth, what does this really mean for us? Can you give us an example? And we'll have those examples with us also at ICEF Digital. But yeah, going back to the co-pilot, that's indeed a session with Microsoft, who we just confirmed last week. So that's quite exciting.
Speaking of examples, in fact, I was going to ask you for one, because sometimes some of the questions I get asked, especially after hosting these lives with you, is come perhaps from schools especially, and also from agents, but mainly the ones I've had are from schools, who
Yeah.
seem to believe that this technology is only for perhaps those large, big names who have, the finances to invest, who have the human resources to invest. And perhaps sometimes they tend to think that this, all of this technology is not for them. I know why they say it. They say it because the way they've been operating has worked so far. But I always, in talking to them, I always use the word so far. But I'd like to hear it from you. These perhaps smaller schools, these maybe family run businesses, is AI for them as well?
Oh, that's a really good question because it's exactly what we're also trying to highlight at ICEF Digital. I'll give an example from another angle. If, let's say, 10 years ago, you wanted to make a slick movie commercial for your school or your agency, that's expensive. You go to an agency, you need to rent the equipment and you need to rent the people, and you got yourself a very slick movie and made you unique, but it was a big investment in budget, in time, in resources. In comes your smartphone and maybe your teenage nephew or children with some skills. Everyone can produce high quality videos nowadays, any small school, any small agency. And the parallel is exactly like that with the CRMs and AI innovations. That's actually a point that we're trying to make, as I just mentioned, right?
Exactly.
Don't need to understand the technology, but you need to understand how the technology can work with you and how you can implement that technology. And we have providers of that, but not just the providers who will, be there with big and expensive tool solutions. We actually have the speakers highlighting, hey, you can find this on the web, and you can find this in the App Store, and this is how that school did it, and this is how this agency did it. And lastly, actually, I'd like to turn the question around. We are inviting agents and educators to submit a proposal for a case study. So if you're a school, no matter how small or big, and you've recently implemented, I don't know, an AI-powered language learning module in your language courses, or you have implemented a digital marketing strategy that is really top-notch, or you have started using tailored marketing solutions through TikTok, digital testing, anything that relates to digital innovations in the student group funnel. If you've started using it and you feel like, hey, I'd love to share this with my peers and colleagues and potential partners, then apply, and you can do that through icef.com/AI. So that's where we have the application
We have
form.
a new slash now.
Yeah. Yeah, for the event is icef.com/digital. That has all the information about the events, latest speakers. But icef.com/AI explains what we're looking for in terms of a case study. That's typically a 10-minute presentation. And that of course comes with a free access to the event, which of course includes all the sessions, the refreshment breaks, the evening reception. So we'd be really happy to receive applications for this and consider them for a position on the stage with the big video screen behind, so we'll make it all look great and very impressive.
That's very nice. And in fact, what we'll do when I publish the post live article, I'll include these links so that any schools, any agents who are watching this, who are perhaps reading the article and watching the video in retrospect, feel free to get in touch, to apply for this, because I feel it's a really good opportunity for people who have perhaps felt comfortable in their comfort zone for a really long time. We know, because obviously it's a topic that interests us, that this comfort zone is not going to be comfortable for much longer. But perhaps it's the right time for them to step outside of that and start exploring and immersing themselves in this world. Because I think once you immerse yourself in this world, it becomes, I don't like to use the word addictive, but it is a little bit like that, because it's there's so much that's changing and so much that can help you in your day to day. I mean, it's been, for us, it's been revolutionary. So let alone, for those schools who are struggling with finding human resources, because we all know what's happening in the world around us. So
your
nice.
Comfort zone is technically the result of your education, of the people you work with, of your experience, of the tools you're familiar with, right? But you've all learned those, you've all attended events, you've done courses. So ICEF Digital is actually a tool to expand that comfort zone and turn that area outside the comfort zone into your new comfort zone, or expand it, make it more wider, that's definitely something we're working on at ICEF Digital.
Nice. Okay, more names. Give me more.
More names. Okay, well, we have also confirmed a professor, Professor Marcus Hammer. He's the Professor of IT Management and Program Director at the International University of Applied Sciences, and he's going to explain the fraud-proof technology blockchain. Now, if you ask me, would you like to attend a session of blockchain? Again, it's, I'm not sure. With blockchain, I think of cryptocurrencies and everything. But blockchain is actually the technology behind cryptocurrency, right? Making sure that it avoids fraud. It does the same in international education. So credentials and there are applications of blockchain in the recruitment process. So Professor Hammer will explain us in layman's terms what blockchain really is, and then as in every session, we'll then try to translate that into, okay, what does this mean for our industry? How does that then work with digital credentials, with digital testing? So it's again a good example of a specialist who comes to our event to just enlighten us in this case about blockchain. So I can't promise anyone that after that session they're going to be experts in cryptocurrency. There's nothing like that, but they'll be knowing a little bit more about tools to secure the processes in international education and to be more fraud protected.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And again, like we said, we don't need to be experts in cryptocurrency, but we just need to understand how it can work for us. One of the things, Martijn, that I particularly liked about ICEF Digital last year were two things. First of all, it was the tangible examples, tangible tools that some of the speakers shared during their sessions. And the second thing that I particularly liked was the fact that at certain points throughout the day, the discussion opened up to the whole floor and people could ask questions, could express concerns, and they could get answers there and then from the experts. Will we see that this year?
God, it feels like I gave you this question because it's a great bridge to my next topic.
Good at this.
You must have felt. Well, you're putting your finger on something that's very important. Again, that bridge from, okay, there's theory, how does it work for our industry, how does it work for you, and who is already using it, can we get some examples? But then what's missing in that range is the conversation, the discussion. So we're introducing this year a second stream of topics in a campfire session format, right? So you'll have the big room with the big topics, and then you have your campfire sessions where we will actually have a moderator with maybe 15, 20, 25, some people are standing behind, whereby the panel is actually that small audience, like around a campfire, where you have a conversation about a certain topic, where maybe sometimes philosophical conversations or practical conversations. So we may have a conversation about, we're using CRM, but we're running into these issues, or we're afraid of, if we start using AI, we're afraid of bias, the topic we discussed last time. But they're more focused, more condensed sessions around a specific topic, which are more about the conversation with the small group of campfire session attendees. So there we have that format. But topics you could expect there is indeed a bias, of course. Emotional artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence often lacks the emotion.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, I was reading a case study on that very recently.
Yeah.
And it was something around the idea of ChatGPT and how somebody gave ChatGPT some instructions, and then somebody else gave ChatGPT the same instructions, but used, more polite terminology, things like these and the results that ChatGPT produced were different. And in the part, in the one where the user was polite, the results came out faster.
So true, and that's one very important aspect of it. But the other thing is the way we are having this conversation, we're having facial expressions, hand movement, even though I'm not Italian. It can depend on, did you have a good night's sleep? How's things with you mentally? There are so many factors that influence the communication that you have with your counterpart. And those are all factors that are, of course, very important by the agents when they consult with an international student, which is also why we believe there will always be a very important human element in that process. But emotional artificial intelligence at least recognizes that when you are talking to a chatbot, for example, that the chatbot doesn't just take your written sentences for granted, but also understands like the way you use your words, the speed at which you're typing, all these things.
Wow.
At some point, and this is more scary, I think at some point they can't even read your pupils, physical parameters that have an impact on your message, and based on that they'll come with a response. They'll feel whether you want to know more, or whether you are interested in having a longer conversation, or whether you need quick answers. So many factors are involved, and that those make for really interesting conversations around the virtual campfire.
My gosh, it's so fascinating. I think we can, I mean, this is definitely one discussion that I'm super interested in, and I'll definitely be around that virtual campfire. Because
we'll save you a spot. Yeah.
Save me a spot around that for sure. I don't know from your end if there are any other topics that you would like to share with us, any other perhaps ways in which, because sorry to stop you, because ICEF Digital, we mentioned it last year, we mentioned it last time, and we'll mention it again this time. ICEF Digital this year will take a slightly different format, and it will take place on the Saturday, not the Friday.
Yes, So the format is the same. We add some new things, but the timing indeed. So I remember indeed last year we had ICEF Digital, then would be what we call the buffer day, or like a day in between, and then we had ICEF Berlin, and this year it's ICEF Digital right before ICEF Berlin. So that's new. The campfire sessions, they are new. We'll also hand out a digital certificate to all the participants, just to recognize their commitment to the digital transformation in the sector. I think that's always good to recognize that. Those are some new things. But actually, one topic I really wanted to highlight is the one we just briefly touched on, and that's really the title of that session is Balancing Automation with Authenticity, Understanding the Human Factor in Digital Student Recruitment. Because that one, probably another one. There's so many interesting topics to discuss there. It's really about what is digital student recruitment, because I would assume that any institution or agent already uses digital tools. It starts, if you're on social media, that's already a digital tool. But there's so many more digital tools. So which ones of those can be automated? Which of those should not be automated? Which of those can't be automated? What does it look like in the future? And where is that human factor? So if we strip down, let's say, anything that can be automated, what remains? What is the human factor in that recruitment process? And you'll be surprised. There are many important moments where the human is important. It will be very reassuring for the agencies in the room. And again, it comes down to the conclusions of the last editions. There are lots of tools out there that will make you more successful, faster, reduce costs, be more efficient, and increase your quality, whilst keeping the human in the center, or actually the student at the center of the whole process. So the symphony between the tools and the person is very relevant and important here. And that's something we'll be having a panel about.
Very good. No. That's something that I think for our followers over here is definitely important, to keep repeating, so to speak. But you know how it is. I mean, again, especially in summer, people are so busy. There's so much going on. We're spending so much time investing in the human factor, obviously, because we want our students who are right now attending our schools to be well taken care of. That, even things like, I mean, you mentioned ethics, you mentioned philosophy. AI could be something that can help our employees, our team members, even with having a good work-life balance. So right now, all hands on deck. Then when things calm down, yes, with automated features, we can help our employees, our staff to perhaps relax a little bit more. So
yeah, I like that. I like that thinking. The irony is that we then probably get other tasks, and we're trying to do, still fill our hours.
Because there's always something, and I think perhaps that's the difference. As human beings, there's always something where we feel we can improve, something we can do better, more time we can spend with the students.
Yeah, the industry continues to grow. I mean, in the midst of all this, we still are dealing with policy changes and important study destinations. But overall, the international education sector is growing significantly. The student corridors are shifting here and there. But also to respond to those shifts, you again might want to use some of the digital tools that are out there to define your strategy going forward in this industry. So that's really interesting. But the other thing that's very, very important here is that, and this is a parallel I made, I think, last year at the event as well, again about that human factor. If you were to order a book, how many of you as at the audience will do that? Can do that online? Well, almost everyone does that. Then the next thing, maybe you order a TV. Some people would actually prefer to go to a store and have a conversation, switch it on. I mean, try it out. But still, lots of people order it online. Next stage, a car. You probably check out your cars online, but you still go to a dealership and talk to someone. You want to see what the car is like. Next stage is a house. How many people buy a house online? Again, you check housing websites, but you still, talk to an agent. And that brings us to international education, which is really a
Yeah.
once in a lifetime decision. So important. You don't, well, some people do, but most people will not want to just click on a button to just go and study somewhere, right? You want to experience, you want to talk to a specialist about this, just like you go see a doctor, see a real estate agent. This is in that category where the human interaction is really, really important and remains. It will change, but it will remain important.
Exactly, exactly. And after all, at the end of the day, we are the ones delivering the service. So,
Yeah,
as you have always said in ICEF Digital last year, and we've been saying in these live broadcasts here, I mean, we use the word co-pilot today to begin with, and I think it's a really good term,
yeah,
even though obviously it's a Microsoft product. But I think,
yeah,
what we need is something to assist
yeah,
us in
yeah,
our very busy schedules.
yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
definitely.
that's very true. That's very true. And then on the other side, what's also important, that's the last example I'll give you because I know we're running out of time. But the other side is how do students actually respond to the implementation of all these digital and AI tools in the recruitment process, right? So certain areas are being automated. So is it ethically correct that an AI tool, maybe at certain points, decides who goes to the next stage of the recruitment process, who goes into the admissions process, who goes to the enrollment? How does that work? Can we teach an AI tool based on historic data? How reliable is that historic data? Because it's history, it's not, it doesn't reflect today. As another ethical, philosophical conversation to have, and that will all be woven into the conversation that we're having. So it's really a combination of what ifs and future gazing and concrete examples. That's the mix that we're trying to achieve at ICEF Digital. But that's the most important message is really that if you are a recruitment professional and you want to understand how these innovations will impact you and your job and your company, then you'll find those answers at ICEF Digital. That's the main message, really.
For sure. And in order to conclude, like I said, we'll add all the links and everything in the article. I'll also add them below our lovely videos on
Yeah.
social media for people
Yeah.
to just click and register. But final, points about ICEF Digital 2024 date, time that it starts, maybe
Yeah.
cost for
Yeah.
schools, for people to participate.
Yeah. So it's on the 2nd of November and we start at 9 a.m. And of course, as you know from ICEF, there's always coffee and refreshments and that's all included, evening receptions included. It gives you, the ticket is €350 and gives you access to the full day, including the evening reception. There are about 15 sessions in the main auditorium, divided into 4 different blocks, and each block has that main conversation about technology. Then we switch to how is it used in the industry. Then we switch to a case study, and then in parallel we have the campfire sessions for the niche topics, emotional intelligence, things we just discussed. And then alongside that, we have, of course, the exhibitors who have the tools and solutions based on the technologies that are being discussed. And it's the day right before ICEF Berlin. So definitely important to add that day, the ICEF Digital Day, to that trip to Berlin to get the most out of it, really.
Exactly. So it's just 1 day extra. So
One day extra. Yeah.
1 day extra. Very nice. Well, Martijn, as usual, time flies when we're having these conversations,
Yeah.
and it's always interesting how something new always comes up.
Yeah.
Like I always say, super looking forward to it this year. And thank you so much for your time, for your insight, and also thank you for putting this together,
And
because
thank
I
you for
really think it's important for the industry.
that makes two of us. Thank you very much for your time, Bernice, and for the opportunity. And I look forward to the next conversation, and of course, very much to ICEF Digital itself.
For sure. Thank you. And to all those who are watching us, as I said, I'll be adding the links later on below, beneath this conversation in the article, so you have no excuse. Click that button and register. See you next time.